We welcome to Houston Sports Talk, Oklahoma City Redhawks broadcaster Alex Freedman. The Redhawks, of course, are the AAA affiliate of the Astros. The talk of Houston, Alex, this week was the promotion of George Springer from the Redhawks. Thanks for joining us, and I'd love to get your thoughts on Springer from what you saw of him late last year and then early this year.
It was only a matter of time, really. I don't think it caught anyone by surprise. I think the only person it surprised was George himself, a very humble guy despite his great talents, and what did seem to be a little bit stunned by it. But yeah, just completely deserved it. Just brought everything here. He completely graduated the minor leagues with honors. There was it really had nothing much else to prove here, and this was it was the right thing to do for the Astros. They really needed a jolt in their offense, and I think they made the right call.
We heard that he wasn't getting much to see as far as pitches before he called up. Is that right? I guess it's been a little bit more difficult. I think they know what to expect down there.
Well, if you look at his production the last few games before he got called up, I would say that's probably not the case because he was really tearing the cover off the ball. But he realized, especially at the end of last year, that guys are going to start pitching around him. And he didn't get any really over anxious, would not go up there looking to swing at the first three pitches that came his way. He'll take his walks. I made a joke on Twitter the other day when he got called up was that the only people happier than Astros fans about Springer getting called up are the opposing PCL pitchers and managers because they don't have to deal with him anymore. So, he really refined his approach, especially from the time he started with us till when he ended with us. Just really a complete player.
How do you think he'll do with the Astros in the big leagues this year now that he's been called up? First few games are an adjustment, of course, but over the course of the season, what do you expect from him?
Well, I think the numbers are going to be decent. I don't think they're going to be quite where they were at, obviously in the minor leagues. I think an average around somewhere in the 250 to 275 range, I think is definitely doable. If he stays there the entire year, which I assume he will, I think, possibility of 15 home runs. I'm afraid that there are going to be a lot of unfair expectations placed on him. There's been a lot of talk from all the national pundits when he's gotten called up, essentially in the first player out of their mouth when they're talking about George Springer is Mike Trout, which is it's not fair to anyone who gets called up to compare him to Mike Trout. Honestly, the way the Astros offense is going, who knows how many great pitches he's going to see up there either, if he's the biggest threat in that lineup. Like I said, I think he's going to put up good numbers. I don't think they're going to be quite nearly what they were last year, but that would happen to any player going to the major leagues.
Well, the next guy the Astros fans have their eyes on for you guys is Jonathan Singleton. He already has 5 home runs as we record this. He started the season hitting well above 300. What do you think of Singleton? And do you see any weaknesses in his game that could be a problem maybe at the next level?
First, he physically looked completely different than when he was here last year. It's very evident how hard he worked in the offseason to get in tremendous shape. I don't want to say I didn't recognize him because I did, but the body was completely different from when he was here last year. The biggest thing I have noticed in terms of his improvement is how he was done against left-handed pitching. There were times last year against left-handed pitching he was just totally lost. But this year he's looking a lot more comfortable against lefties. He's consistently making solid contact. The strikeouts are well down than what they were last year. The defense is still good for the most part, but can have some lapses here and there. I think just if you ask our manager, Tom Wallace, what he thinks John needs to improve the most in, he would say it really doesn't have as much to do with baseball as much as just kind of maturing and becoming an older player and a wiser player and just kind of adding that element to his game.
I think the general thought after the Springer call-up is that the floodgates from the minors might finally begin to open on some of the Astros' more dynamic young prospects. Before we get to the pitchers, who else do you think should we have an eye on with the Redhawks as far as positional prospects? We've heard about Santana, Waits was in camp, and Stassi was in camp this year as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Max Stassi just because, with catchers, you're literally one pitch away from having to call someone up, whether they take a foul ball off the mask the wrong way or maybe tweak something, run to the bases. Stassi's been off to a good start last night. had his a 12-game hitting streak snapped, best of his career. Has really shown that opposite field power I had heard a lot about, and just an overall pretty good approach up there at the plate. Of course, a name from the pitcher standpoint that I know a lot of fans want to see is Mike Foltynewicz. He's had 4 pretty inconsistent outings, though. 2 have been really good and 2 have been pretty tough. So I think it's going to be a bit before Foltynewicz gets up there. He's certainly got the stuff. I mean, opening night in Round Rock, his first 3 pitches were 101, 100, 101. And, I mean, he really overpowered Round Rock in that game. He had a couple tough outings against New Orleans, and then he comes here to Colorado Springs, a very tough place to pitch, and has a great outing, reached his 5-inning maximum in that tandem rotation. Although he's, got those, the gaudy stuff, I think there is a lot of refinement left to be done with him, but he'll be there eventually.
Speaking of Mike Foltynewicz and the refinement that needs to be done, what do you think the organization is working with him on at this point right now to get him ready for that call-up to the majors?
Probably slowing down. Sometimes with guys who have that high-octane stuff, they just want to get the ball and fire it back as fast as they can and keep things going. And he said that really he's working with pitching coach Steve Weber on just kind of being a little bit more deliberate, slowing down a little bit. I know some guys have they say they run into issues when they're too slow. Well, he said he was just a little bit too amped up, especially here in his first go-round in AAA. So I think that's one of the main things that they're working on, the pacing and how to attack hitters, really, instead of just throwing, because there's a lot of things you can get away with in AA you can't up here.
What about some of the other pitchers on the staff who've caught your eye so far this year? A Martinez, a Tropiano, Buchanan, any of those guys?
Well, Nick Tropiano, after having a tough first outing, has been phenomenal lately. 3 straight scoreless outings now. And not only is he not giving up runs, I mean, guys are barely getting on base. He's not striking out a lot of guys nearly at the rate he did the last 2 years at the lower levels of the minors. I know last year led the Texas League in strikeouts. Has struck out more batters than any other Astros minor leaguer the last 2 years. Well, the strikeouts aren't there. Not to say they won't be there. They might eventually come here at this level. But he's just using that changeup to get a lot of soft contact right now. And it seems like he's a lot comfortable. That first outing of the season, you could tell maybe a little bit uneasy, but seems like he feels right in place right now.
Well, as you can imagine, the excitement here from Astros fans is always about what's going on in the minor leagues. And before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you, Oklahoma City, we know has one of the ballpark gems in minor league baseball. Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark basically sparked a revitalization of the Bricktown area. For our Astros fans listening who might like to see a game up there at some point, give them a little bit of what to expect in the experience on Mickey Mantle Drive, if you would.
Yeah, it's a great park. Like you said, it's one of the best in the minor leagues, and we don't just say that to say that. It's been validated by several publications as well, and all baseball people, whether it's the people who play for the Redhawks, the visiting teams, the visiting coaches, scouts who come through. Nothing but great things to say about Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. Like you said, it was the first big project of what was a controversial bill at the time to essentially increase the sales tax in Oklahoma City to fund a series of projects to revitalize downtown Oklahoma City. They had lost a bid, I believe it was to United Airlines a few years before that in the mid-'90s to build a big hub, and United pretty much told them, we didn't choose you because we couldn't envision our employees living there. And that really what sparked Oklahoma City leaders to improve the area. It was the first big project. And once people of Oklahoma City saw it and what good could be done, they approved subsequent bills that have, the MAPS project is what it's called, different phases of it that is continue to improve Oklahoma City. But just a great ballpark right there in the middle of downtown, plenty of stuff around, plenty of restaurants, bars, you name it. And just a great environment always around the park. We've got the canal across the street, and it's just a great setting for baseball.
Yeah, not just basketball. I know this time of year everybody's talking basketball in the Oklahoma City area, but baseball's been great. Hey, really appreciate you joining us, Alex. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
That was Oklahoma City Redhawks broadcaster Alex Freedman on Houston Sports Talk. Check out more of our interviews on our website, houstonsportstalk.net.